Wow. Wow, what a week it's been. I thought that song was a great way to kick things off tonight. That was Hold On, Change is Coming, but one of my favorite gospel groups, Sounds of Blackness, and you have now stepped into the gray area. I'm your host, Shari Nycole, and I'm so excited to be spending another Sunday night with you. In a world of extremes, taboos, and biases, it's often very complicated to meet in the middle, or as I call it, the gray area. The gray area is where topics we avoid but need to tackle exist. It's where people on both sides of an issue find understanding. The gray area is where we learn new things about others and ourselves. And today we're doing that with some good music and by breaking down how things went down this week with the election. I don't know who else's head is spinning. Mine still is. I'm coming down a little bit, but I still have a slight case of vertigo. This week almost took me out of here. But I digress. I've got two amazing guests lined up tonight who know the ins and outs of politics, and that's Georgia State Rep. Erica Thomas and radio host and political commentator Dr. Rashad Ritchie. So excited to talk to them both. They'll crunch the numbers with me, add some context to what went down at the polls here in Philly and the battleground state of Georgia. Who would have thought? Georgia, of all places. And they'll also share their thoughts on the power of the black vote and what our community needs to do and to focus on as we move forward. But, before we get into all of that, I want to fill you in on what's been happening in the world around us. And also, I want to shout out my Instagram followers who are watching me right now on my Instagram Live. What's up, everybody? Happy Sunday. Thanks for hanging out with me and joining those who are listening via the Philly's Favorite app and Philly's Favorite 100.7 on their radio dial. And as is custom, my Instagram Live followers, they tune in, for the top of the show. Then I cut off my IG Live feed. I get rid of them. And I make them go download the Philly's Favorite app or visit phillysfavorite.com to listen live. And as always, I want to hear from you, whether you're listening right now on Philly's Favorite 100.7. 100.7. Or for those who are hanging out with me on IG Live, I want to hear from you guys, okay? Whether it's now or after the show, whenever. I love social media. So let me know your thoughts about today's show on my Instagram and Twitter. Same handle, Shari_Nycole. That's SHARI_NYCOLE. All right. So let's get to it, guys. This is what everybody's talking about. So, hey, I'm going to talk about it as well. After a long week, a long nerve-wracking and exhausting week, the numbers fell in Joe Biden's favor, and he is now the president-elect of the United States of America. And in addition, this was pretty cool. History showed up last night on the big stage in Delaware, for those who saw the speeches. She donned a pristine pearl white suit, had her coils beautifully in place, and strutted out to Mary J. Blige before taking the podium. I'm talking about our now first woman and black woman vice president-elect Kamala Harris. Just saying that alone, it's unbelievable. And before I get more into the part she now plays in the political history of this country, here's a few numbers. And just before we get into all the numbers I have so far, I just want you guys to know, and I'm sure those who have been following know this, there are some votes, yet to be counted. So final counts in Nevada, Georgia, North Carolina, and Arizona, which has, I believe, been called, but we don't have the final numbers. Those numbers are still pending, okay? So I'm going to need all of y'all over there in those states to just go ahead and hurry up and finish because it's getting weird. That's all. It just hurry up. I know those mail-in ballots really were turning up. It kind of threw you off a little bit, but come on now. It's Sunday. I'm just saying. But anyway, let me focus. Right now, the numbers sit at 279 electoral votes for Biden and 214 for Trump, with only 270 needed to win the presidency. And that's why we saw an acceptance speech last night for Biden and Harris. So even more fascinating, President-elect Joe Biden surpassed former President Barack Obama's popular vote with a whopping 74,446,452 votes. Wow. And remember, that number will continue to rise, I'm sure, as final numbers come in. From that, I say it's pretty clear that the majority of the people in this country want to see a change, and it looks like they're going to get that. Despite the numbers and despite everything that's going on, despite the acceptance speeches, the Trump administration is vowing legal action and a push for recounts. Shout out to Cocktails with Queens. They say absolutely amazing. First black woman vice president. It absolutely is. Now, overall, though, the numbers do show that many citizens in this country were totally cool with how things have been going under the Trump administration. As the numbers stand now, 47.7% of Americans wanted to see Trump back in office. Now, I sincerely hope that whatever side you fall on, we collectively come to understand that we're a lot stronger together than we are separate. Everyone, and I do mean everyone, is entitled to their vote. But now that the numbers are in, let's move forward together. It's so important. Also, I cannot continue without shouting out all the residents of Philadelphia who exercised their right to vote despite intimidation and voter suppression tactics. You should be extremely proud of yourselves. I'm definitely proud of you. I also want to shout out Vice President-elect Kamala Harris and talk about what her historic position means for black women and black girls in this country. As someone who has always prided themselves on hard work, maintaining a sense of excellence in all that I do, education, divine connections, quality relationships, and communication, I'm so inspired by Kamala Harris's journey, and all black women should be, and black men as well. This is historic, and regardless if you agree with where she's been placed or not, this is huge for the black community, and I hope that we are able to capitalize on this. So it's not just a moment for us, but it becomes a movement and a way for us to engage and invite our youngsters, our young girls, our young black men into political process, and we can change the tide that way. I was looking at the morning that we found out about, because I was in California, and the morning we found out about President-elect Biden, I was watching my sister talk to my 6-year-old niece and explaining to her who Kamala Harris was. And they're looking at the TV and they're saying, my sister was telling my niece, look, she's the first black vice president, and she's a woman, and she's a brown woman, and you're a beautiful brown girl, and you can do the same thing one day. You can be there. Wow, what a powerful thing to be able to relate to a child. And so this has given us and our children an opportunity to dream in ways unseen. And so for that, I'm grateful. And even more grateful that statistics show that black women have been overwhelmingly loyal to the Democratic Party. And in my opinion, it's about time we've seen a black woman on the blue side in this capacity. Plus, we're just amazing. So then there's that. Yeah, I said it. So what? Moving to President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris's acceptance speeches last night, all I have to say is Joe ran out there like a G. I was totally sold right then. Even if he didn't say a word, the run alone let me know that he knew that we all needed to see his 77-year-old self move with that level of swiftness that would convince us that he could handle leading this country for 4 years. Let me say this. No politician is perfect, not one. But that jog he did, I'm going to call it a run because he's 77. That run he did was perfect, okay? But outside of that, guys, no politician is perfect, okay? But I will say, I was impressed with the blatant acknowledgement of black voters and black women in particular last night during both speeches. I also was happy to hear Biden be very deliberate about being the president for every American. And regardless of what political party you align with and whether you voted for him or not, he clearly stated that he was committed to serving you as well. Shout out to Jazzy J Serves on my Instagram Live. She said it's energized the moment and calls it the prayers jog. That's what I'm talking about. We're going to call it the prayers jog from here on out. Thanks for your comment. I thought amidst all the dissension, that was a genuine gesture of his, and now we all must hold him accountable for those words. And that comes with the work that we do in our own communities and how we exercise our votes on the local and state level. Now, I have to ask, okay? I have to ask who else spent a lot of time on social media this past week? Or was it just me? IG Live, what say you? For those listening on the radio, don't judge me. If you're listening on the Philly's favorite app, don't judge me because I know you were watching the memes as well. I'm certain I was not the only one. Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter were absolutely outrageous on the meme and real side of things. It really did add some humor to what was a very nerve-wracking time for a lot of people, including myself. And sometimes you really do have to laugh and keep from crying or panicking in this case for some. Now I'm certainly praying for our current administration as well as the one that will take the baton. There's much work to be done. I cannot stress this enough. There's much work to be done. We showed up to the polls. Everybody did what they were supposed to do. Now the real work begins. And as you continue to hear me say on this show, black folks in particular, we need to take our homes and communities back. The presidential seat cannot and will not save you, but a healthy balance of domestic, social, communal, and political work and change can. So let's come together, let's be intentional, and let's get to work. That's the only way we can truly hold our government leaders accountable and ensure we progress, regardless of who's in the White House. So, regardless of what political side of the aisle you stand on, it still holds true that the government will forever rest on the shoulders of the Father. So, and the Father God, for those who may be misconstruing what I'm saying. So, let not your hearts be weary, and instead, let's relish in the perpetual promise that through Christ we will always win individually and collectively. With that said, you like that lead in? With that said, here's my Chi-Town brother, Ricky Dillard, with I've Got the Victory. That's my jam, y'all. I just felt real churchy right then. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. I just feel real churchy. That was Ricky Dillard, my Chi-Town brother, with I've Got the Victory, one of my favorite songs. And so I want to shift gears a little bit. I'm a huge Dave Chappelle fan. He's my favorite comedian. Saints, don't judge me, okay? But he is. And so I was very excited to see him on Saturday Night Live last night. And as always, he held no comedic punches at all. So he had a 16-minute monologue. And during that time, in many instances, you could cut the unease in the audience with a knife, as he laced very stark and strong comments about racism, COVID-19, the Trump presidency, and the wage gap with comedic punchlines. It was genius. And at one point during the monologue, Dave said, "I've had to wear a mask many years because the only way people can stomach the truth is when I put a punchline after it." And what I took from that is, our country is a troubling place. We're divided. We need more love. We need more truth. And we need God more than ever. So as the exchange of power for the presidency plays itself out, let's continue to seek God's face. Let's pray more. Let's love more. Let's unite more. Let's communicate more, even if and when it hurts to hear the truth. Let's ask God, ourselves, and each other for forgiveness. And for those in the body of Christ, let's not let political party lines divide us, because I've seen a lot of that in the last few weeks. The kingdom is still priority. Let's not lose sight of the ultimate goal. Last night, Dave Chappelle shined a bright light on the stains of America. Let's use this time to seek God's counsel on how to clean them up. And that's all I got to say about that. I'm out the pulpit now. I just had to get that out of my spirit because it was sitting in my spirit for a while. Philly's favorite is Philly's only FM gospel radio station, and we're growing every day. We don't want you to miss a thing, from the great music and personalities to contests and great conversations with some of your favorite artists. So make sure you listen, whether it's on 100.7 FM, 99.5 HD3, or our app at Philly's Favor, and tell a friend about the new Favor 100.7. I've got Georgia State Rep Erica Thomas coming up in a bit, but first, since I'm in a celebratory type mood tonight, I've got to play this song. Here's Kirk Franklin with "Gonna Be a Lovely Day." It's going to be a lovely day. In our instance, it's going to be a lovely night. Guys, this country, God still has his hand in this thing, and we have a lot to look forward to. So that was Kirk Franklin with one of his classes and one of my favorite songs, "Gonna Be a Lovely Day." Make sure you guys get in on the great listening all weekend long on Philly's Favor 100.7 FM. We've got your favorites like Hezekiah Walker and Marvin Sapp, and some new voices like Toya Beasley and Brother Marcus. And of course, we can't forget the pastor's office and gospel goodies. And of course, I'm gonna plug the gray area. Check out phillysfavorite.com for the lineup. And to start your weekend listening, are you trying to make sense of this election? Are you wondering where we go from here? Are you nervous about where this country is headed? Well, no worries, okay? Without further ado, I have Georgia State Representative who can help ease your anxieties. She also happens to be one of the youngest members of any state's legislative body and one of the first orphans to hold political office. I'm talking about the Honorable Erica Thomas. Thank you so much for stepping into the gray area. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
It's a pleasure and an honor. I want to jump right in. How are things on the ground in Georgia right now, specifically in the city of Atlanta and the surrounding counties that were such a huge part of this election?
It's game on. A lot of people think, after Biden winning that we have won and it's time to celebrate. But as you may know, we have 2 Senate seats, U.S. Senate seats up for grabs here on January the 5th. And so we have a lot of work to do down here. So we are celebrating at the same time. We're about to be knocking on doors and getting more people registered to vote so that we can turn out the vote even more.
And let me ask you, after coming off such high voter turnout, how do you guys kind of turn the corner and get voters reinvigorated for these runoffs that are going to happen in January?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. It's a scary thing. Less than 2% of voters come back out for runoffs, which is really scary. So,
Did I lose her, Max? Max is my board op. I think we lost her. I think we lost the Honorable Erica Thomas. We're going to work on getting her back right now. In the interim, here is Molly Music with "One." That was Molly Music with "One." And we have to be one. We have to be one in this country. Me and my board op, Max, have to be one. When people drop off the call, we have to work together to get them back. So we did do that. And George... Georgia State Rep Erica Thomas has to be one with us as well to know to call
Amen.
back so we
Amen.
can try again. So praise God that everybody was on the same page. I have you back, and you were talking about how to reinvigorate the voters for the runoffs, very important Senate runoffs that are going to happen in January. Continue.
Yeah, so I was just saying that less than 2% of the voting population will come out in a runoff. And so we have to try to find innovative ways to do that, But I do believe the whole cavalry is coming. People are coming from Philly. People are coming from New York. People are coming from Washington, D.C., down to Georgia to secure these valuable
yes
2 Senate seats. I mean, and people don't understand how important it is to have these type of Senate seats and what kind of control that means. I mean, with having a new selection of Supreme Court justices. That is confirmed by the Senate. And so there's a lot at stake. And so we have to make sure that we vote in every single election like our life depends on it, because it does.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those who may not understand the significance of these two runoffs, can you break that down for me briefly?
So right now, the U.S. Senate has the Republicans have a control over the U.S. Senate by 1 vote. Okay, that's by 1 Senate seat. And so right now we have a runoff, which means, let me tell you what a runoff means in Georgia. Not every state is like this, but in our state, in order for you to win an election, you've got to get 50% plus 1 vote. Okay, if both people get 50%, it goes into a runoff. If you have 3 people, 5 people, 4 people in an election. In David Perdue Senator David Perdue and John Ossoff's case, there was 3 people. There was a Republican, a Democrat, and a Libertarian. Okay, and because of that, David Perdue did not get, and John Ossoff, neither one of them got 50% plus 1, so they're forced into a runoff. With Raphael Warnock's case, it was a jungle primary, which rarely ever happens. And we, as the U.S., as our legislator, we had to vote for that jungle primary. We did not want that to happen, but we are not in the majority, so it happened. And with that being the case, I think it was over 20-plus people in that election, okay? And with that being the case, the top 2 people come out of that election. And so those top 2 people go into a runoff in January. So that gives people the good thing is you can get more people registered, which is the deadline to register to vote is December 1st, I'm sorry. And then the election is January 5th. And so you can still be able to, anyone that was 18, turned 18 on November 29th or turns 18 on December, the 1st, they are still able to register to vote. So that's a whole nother thing, because you got a lot more people that are going to be able to vote, a lot of more young people, seniors in high school that are going to be able to vote in this election.
Wow.
That may be the difference between 700 votes, 1,000 votes. That is what's going to make the difference. Maybe even 100 votes might make the difference in this election.
Wow. And speaking of making a difference in this election and registering people to vote, Stacey Abrams has been crucial when we look at the state of Georgia and everything that she's going on. I've been reading, according to several reports, she was instrumental in getting approximately like 800,000 new voters registered in recent years. And we know, I believe she was ripped off as far as the governor's race was concerned, but it's really amazing to see all the work that she's done. When we look at that, when we look at the blue tide coming in Georgia, something we haven't seen in decades, what do you say to that, and also the impact not only of Stacey Abrams but of Black women, whether it be Black women voters or Black women in leadership?
We have a saying down here that the black women of Georgia didn't just save Georgia, but we saved the Republic of America. Yeah. And I would say that, Stacey Abrams worked her butt off. I mean, she worked so hard with the New Georgia Project under my good friend Nsé Ufud, executive director, and they registered so many people. And it takes a lot. When you think of registering people, it's not just knocking on somebody's door. It's about raising money, because you have to she raised millions and millions of dollars to pay people, to employ people to go out and stand in front of malls and stand out there and go and knock on thousands of doors to get people registered to vote. So she registered people to vote. She raised a lot of money. And just in the project that we did in the last month, we registered thousands of people to vote. And we went out in COVID. I'm needless to say, I had a team of about 20 people, and we went out and knocked on people's doors during COVID. I mean, of course, we had all the PPE and we followed all the protocols, but we risked our lives to turn Georgia blue. And I think that there's a lot of women, Black women, that put these projects together. Representatives Honorable D. Dawkins Hagley put our project together. So it was a lot of different Black women that put their boots on the ground to turn Georgia blue. But Stacey Abrams really, really cut the pathway for us and raised the money that we needed in order to get people paid $15, $18, $20, $30 an hour to do this work.
Wow. And, you know, where should, as we talk about work, you know, the work that you all are doing, but also there's much work to be done for the residents, not only of Georgia, but as Black folks in whatever state or city that you're in. So where should we as the Black community be pointing our focus in the wake of this election? And also, what are some of the best ways to hold the new administration accountable?
Well, I think that a lot of people make promises during their election. I saw a meme today that it said, hey, Joe Biden, you said you were going to cut off, what about the the student loan debt? You were going to cut student loan debt.
Yes, I saw that one too.
Gray socks, a suit, you were turned to the left at the camera. You said, so people are going to be held accountable a lot more than they ever have because you've got cameras. You've got a lot of people, these speeches are on TV. This is not just something printed in the newspaper in 1979.
Yeah.
You know, people have these speeches on, and they are really serious about holding Biden accountable about student loans. I mean, there's a lot of people that have it, holding them accountable about these stimulus checks and this CARES Act fund money. So I think that now more than ever, because we're so fed up with what happened in the last 4 years and people telling us that they're going to do something and not doing it, I think that people are going to be held accountable to the letter of the law. And then the second thing is, how do we do that? We call our legislators. Start with local. With these new local people, these city council, these legislators, these county commissioners, it's just as important as the president, if not even more important. And so you have to make sure, don't be scared to call your city council or your county commissioner. Go to openstates.org. Go to votesmart.org. All of these places where you can put in your address and get all of their information, their phone numbers and everything of who your legislators are, who your city council people are. Again, that's openstates.org and votesmart.org. You can go on there, find out who your people are, and blow up their phones, blow up their emails, and get stuff done. Let me tell you something. We love the people to call our phone. You might think, oh, they don't want us calling. Yes, we do. You know,
blow up the phone, y'all. She's telling you to blow up the phones.
Blow up the phone. In my first couple of years, I only got 20 calls.
Wow.
And you know those 20 people out of 56,000 constituents, those 20 people got stuff done, okay? So, please hold us accountable. We want to be held accountable, and we want to see your face down at the Capitol and down at those city halls. We would love to see your faces. And so I know it's COVID, but at the same time, there's all types of ways to reach out. But we have to make sure we hold our elected officials accountable and let them know that we will vote you out.
Yeah. And what would you say to those people, and those in the Black community in particular, who are disenchanted with the Democratic Party? And you know, I know that the numbers weigh heavily on the side of Black women. We've pretty much been Democratic for decades and decades and decades. We've been holding strong in that way. But when we look at the numbers, and also just in conversations that I've had in recent years, Black men they have an issue, you know, and it is a reasonable one, where many of them I've talked to have said, hey, they bring up the crime bill. They say the Democratic Party hasn't done enough for Black people. They say that, you know, our community has not progressed enough under their leadership. What would you say to the people who are very skeptical right now about us moving back into a democratically run government?
Well, you know, again, I pointed back to what I said just a minute ago. It's a lot about local, and a lot of people hold the president to the letter of the law, and they don't understand the president can't move without a Congress and a Senate. He can't do anything.
Correct.
And so we have to make sure that we never forget that. And what we did with Obama, people were upset with what they thought that he should have done and could have did, but we didn't come back and vote that next 2 years for our Congress and our Senate. And so he could not move like he should have. And I think a lot of people are seeing that now. And so we have to make sure that we understand that the president's hands are tied if we are not in power in the Senate and in Congress. And federally, we as state legislators, we go by the federal law and the federal the federal policies as a guideline. We don't have to, we wanted to expand Medicaid and do Obamacare and do all that stuff, but because we are Republican-led legislators, we could not draw down those Medicaid dollars to fully fund Medicaid because they shut it down. We could not get rid of no-knock warrants because the Republicans shut it down. We could not get rid of citizens' arrest in the case of Ahmaud Arbery because they shut it down. So unless we're voting all the way down the ticket, and I want people to understand what happened in Georgia and take that for every place. We did not vote down the ticket. We voted for president and turned Georgia blue, quote unquote, but we had 16 Democratic seats we could have picked up in the state house, and we only picked up 3 and lost 1.
Wow.
So that says a lot. We have to make sure that we are voting. If we want to say we're blaming it all on the Democrats or we're blaming it all on the Republicans, you need to vote the whole way down so that everybody has that support and we can work together. Or we can't say that this person isn't doing this or this person isn't doing that, because we have to have a full Democratic government in order for it to work, or a full Republican government in order for it to work and be capable of doing the things that we are screaming and shouting to get done.
Wow. And when you come up against that level of resistance where you've put in the work, but you're not in a system where what you're pushing can happen, not because you all don't believe, but simply because you're working against another system that is essentially in charge, so to speak. Do you feel like you're spinning your wheels? How do you adjust to still fulfill, what you've sworn an oath to do as a politician without getting so frustrated where you're like, well, let's just be sitting ducks until the next election rolls around? How do you handle that?
It's so hard. It's so hard. And I'm glad you brought that up, because this is where we are right now. We lost the House. We haven't had control of the House for the last 15 years. And we thought that this would be the year that we would get control of the state House. And we didn't. And now, with this being a census year, we're going into redistricting. A lot of people don't know what that is, but with redistricting, Eric Holder, our old Attorney General, former Attorney General, has really harped on this hard. Mm-hmm. Redistricting is so key to getting things done. And that's why the census is so important. We need people to have filled out the census and done the census so we can fight for you guys. We can't say we need more money towards this or more money towards that, and the census isn't saying that you have this many minorities or you have this many Hispanics that you need to help, because nobody filled out the census. So I'm really proud of the people that did do that. But what they're going to do in January to our Georgia House is they are going to redraw these lines to make this state red in their eyes. And so what they will do is, I have a stronghold Democratic seat, okay? So if a Republican came in my seat, it would be a hard feat for him to beat me, okay? And then people love me, but that's a whole other thing. What they're going to do is they're going to take the 4,000 Republicans out of my district, and the 4,000 Republicans out of the district that's beside me, that's another Democratic stronghold seat, okay? And they're going to create a new district, okay, for that Republican. So they gain an extra seat. Wow. And then they're going to put me, Representative Erica Thomas, and Representative Eric Allen in a race together. They're going to draw the line for both our homes.
Divide and conquer.
District. And then we're going to have to battle it out against each other, and one of us are going to lose, and they're going to win a new House seat in the state legislature. So then they're going to have the majority. They're going to force themselves to have the majority. And we say, and we all should say, is that the people should pick their representative. The representatives should not pick their people. And that's what's going to happen January 2021.
Unbelievable. And I want everybody to understand, this is why I had you on the show. It's these type of things that we're not necessarily thinking about. We may not be educated on. We may not think necessarily makes a difference. But that could make a difference between, as you stated, a healthcare bill being passed or things like that. So thank you for breaking that down. And before I let you go, what are some of the political and professional moves that we should look out for from you as we end this year out and start at the top with 2021?
All right. Well, I am excited because, I am the co-chair of the Georgia Entertainment Caucus. And we announced about 3 weeks ago that we are now laying ground to have the first ever Black Music and Entertainment Walk of Fame. So it's going to be just like it is in Hollywood, but it's going to be all Black everything. And we are going to be doing on Martin Luther King Avenue, right in front of the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And so we're so excited about that. We're going to be breaking ground, and we're going to be unveiling the first 10 inductees, Martin Luther King weekend 2021. So we're so excited about that. People that have fought so hard to be recognized, to be in Hall of Fame, has sued Rock and Roll Hall of Fames and did so much so that they can be recognized for certain people. We won't say who they are, that stole their music. These people will be recognized, and for the movers and shakers that have done so much for us that are still alive today, will be recognized and put permanently in the ground for years to come. And we'll be doing that every single year that weekend. And so I'm very excited about that. I think it's very monumental, and my kids will be able to say that my mom did something to change Black history. So that's something that we're working on. I'm very excited about. And you can go to Georgia.
That is amazing.
entertainmentcaucus.com and check it out.
Well, the Honorable Erica Thomas, I thank you so much. I certainly hope I can call on you again, especially in January when these runoffs happen, because I'm interested to see, obviously, what goes down with that. And thank you for.
You might want to call in December.
I'm going to call you. I'm going to call you in December so we can get everybody excited out here and they can really have some energy. But I thank you so much for joining me, and God bless you. And thank you for all of the work that you are doing. And it's not for naught. Just please know that. And I know, it's not easy doing the work that you're doing, but you're doing an amazing job. So thank you for stepping into the gray area. And I will talk to you again soon.
Thank
My
you
pleasure.
so much for having me. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for making sure that people are informed on your show. So I really appreciate that. And they can follow me on Instagram. It's Erica Thomas. Again, it's Erica Thomas on Instagram. Thank you, and look forward to talking to you again.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, guys, it's been a great show so far. That was Georgia State Rep Erica Thomas. She was dropping some gems, and I'm so grateful for her time. And it's been so much that's gone on in Georgia over the last week or so. And so to be able to get her time for her to break some things down is great. And especially, guys, always remember, she's speaking specifically in many instances to Georgia, but that applies across this country. So I hope that you all were able to grab some things from that. And, I'm very excited to keep the momentum going. He's a political commentator, a social and political commentator. He's also a regular commentator on MSNBC and the Fox News Channel. Dr. Rashad Richey is stepping into the gray area now. And Max, my board op, do we have him on the line? Dr. Rashad Richey, can you hear me? Do I have you on the line? All righty, Max. I don't think I have him. I can't hear him on my end. So what we will do is we'll go to Better Days by Jonathan Nelson, and I'll see if we can get Dr. Rashad Richey back after the song. You guys like how we did that? How we just started a song and ended it in like 45 seconds? That's dope, isn't it? That's a new thing that we do on the gray area. Me and Max decided to do that in case we were able to get Dr. Rashad Richey back on the line. And I believe he is back on the line, so I didn't want to cut into his time. Dr. Richey, how are you doing today? I think I have Dr. Rashad Richey on the line. The third time's a charm. On the third day, he rose. Doc,
can you hear me now?
Are you on? Come, yes, hallelujah. This is what you do. You just work through it. You just work through it. That's all you do. Thank you.
Amen.
Shout out to my board op, Max. Shout out to my board out, Max. He's been working hard. Today is really, really an interesting day for him. So I appreciate your hard work, Max. I'm going to jump right in because I want to squeeze as much in as we can. We lost a few minutes dealing with some technical difficulties, but I do want to get your thoughts, overall thoughts about the Biden campaign's successful path to the White House, because it looked a little weird on election night. It was a little strange. It was very red. The map was very red.
Well, the map is very red because those states don't have a lot of population. They have a lot of land mass. So anytime a Democrat wins, it still looks massively red because land mass is how we optically review who won what state. But those states are not as populated as those smaller blue states, which is a distinction that makes a big difference. And I will tell you this about the strategy of Joe Biden. I actually predicted June 13th of 2019. I predicted, and we just put it back out online today, that Joe Biden would clinch the nomination of the party and he would choose Senator Kamala Harris as his running mate. And the reason why I made that prediction was based on the polling data of Senator Harris. While she was not polling number one in the Democratic primary, she was polling with the least number of negatives out of everybody else running. Okay?
Wow.
Something similar happened with Barack Obama. When he was Senator Obama, he was polling at the lowest negatives out of everyone polled for president. And that helped him not only clinch the nomination, but it also helped him become president of the United States. And I saw very similar numbers with Senator Harris, and we know the rest is history. Let's talk about the strategy.
Yeah.
When these votes were coming in, these mail-in votes, these legally casted mail-in votes, I knew they would be overwhelmingly Democratic, even in places that had significant Republican support. And here's why. It was based on the strategy of the Democratic Party and the strategy of the Biden-Harris campaign. They said, hey, Democrats, vote early, vote by mail, vote by absentee, make sure you have a plan, mail it in, get it done. Republicans took a similar stance as Donald Trump, where they said vote on Election Day. They had a campaign, vote on Election Day. The President of the United States even criticized early voting and insinuated that it would not even be a legal vote. Because of that strategy, Republicans, by and large, decided to show up on Election Day. Well, you got vote totals now with a difference of just a few thousand votes in some states. You wonder how many Republicans wanted to vote on that day, but because something came up, they didn't. They didn't vote because of something that came up in their family life, their work life, whatever it may be. They got sick. They weren't healthy that day. But because of the strategy of the Republican Party, they did not run a congruent campaign of get out the vote as it relates to absentee voting. Democrats owned it. They ran it. And this is really the fault of Donald Trump for criticizing mail-in voting and depending on Election Day results, and it bit him in the behind.
It sure did. And he's very upset. He was golfing the other day, and I think that was a way for him to kind of hide his true feelings, to kind of clear his mind. But he is saying and has been saying for quite a while that he's going to fight this. And what would you say to those out there who may be nervous about possible legal actions being taken and recounts happening at the behest of the Trump administration?
I think it's great. To me, it's like a fish flopping outside of water on dry land. Okay? That's what Trump is right now. Here's what I say. I say give him a splash of water to make him think something's going to change, okay? Make him suffer a little bit longer. All of these frivolous lawsuits, they filed a couple in Georgia. They got kicked out quicker than they were filed. Judges are literally laughing them out of the courtroom. But these frivolous lawsuits are going to continue. Here's what everyone should remember. The law and the Constitution is very clear. Here's what the law says. By December 14th, this is the Constitution. By December 14th, all electoral college votes must be cast, period. There's no ambiguity in that rule. It doesn't matter if there's pending litigation. It does not matter if a state is still counting. That must happen on that day no matter what. And then January 20th, by 12 noon, is the transfer of power. That must happen no matter what, period.
Wow. I got about 3 minutes, Doc. What are some of the things that the Biden campaign, not even his campaign at this point, Biden and his administration need to put into practice and pen to paper immediately that will be of service to the Black community?
Number one, they need to reset and overturn the executive orders that have been disastrous under Trump. Number two, they need to set a 100-day plan that actually spells out a progressive agenda as it relates to equity for African Americans, as it relates to health care reform, and also as it relates to higher education access in America. These elements are things that they ran on. They need to have a 100-day plan. They will probably have the Senate, likely, maybe, if Ossoff wins and Warnock wins in the state of Georgia, and they got to get in immediately and make transformation happen if they have the Senate, the House, and the presidency.
Makes sense to me. What's next for you? What do you have coming up outside of being amazing at what you do and what you're doing right now on my show? What are some of the things that we could be looking out from you coming out of 2020, going into 2021?
I appreciate that question. I'm continuing to do my political analysis for MSNBC, CBS 46 News locally in Atlanta. You all can always tune into my morning show, the Rashad Rich Morning Show right here in Atlanta. And just watch for some big things. I'm also the chief editor for Rolling Out Magazine. We got some new stuff coming up at the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, that will allow us to have a stronger voice in the political world because we have a significant readership, 2.2 million readers at Rolling Out, urban, young. We want to take that power, that influence, and make sure we have a political voice.
That's amazing. Well, I definitely would love to have you back, and I promise it will be no technical problems when you return. Okay,
I would love to come back anytime for you.
And I want to, fantastic. Thank you for stepping into the gray area. Happy Sunday. Have a great start to your week, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you all for hanging with us. And was that Max? Max is over here starting my ending early. Thank you guys for joining us on the gray area. Thank you all so much. And make sure you guys follow me on Twitter, Instagram, same handle, Shari, at Shari_Nycole, SHARI_NYCOLE. I'll talk to you guys again next Sunday right here on the gray area at 7 p.m. Eastern. Peace.